Welcome to AltTabMe.com, the community that outlasts the release dates, Wildstar podcasts. We are here to bring you the upcoming information, new information, old information, anything and everything about Wildstar that we're excited for. Now, there's a little bit of a catch with these podcasts, and I just want to go over it real quick for those that haven't tuned in yet. We only go 30 minutes. Anything we don't cover or you want us to cover more of, or you'd like to see in future podcasts, head on over to our community boards and participate. And with that, today's podcast will be PvP, and the clock starts now. All right, guys, PvP.
All right, so I want to give a quick little intro to PvP. Right now, as far as we know, we currently have an arena system, a battleground system, a war plot system, which is new to the MMO sphere, and open world PvP. And a lot of old things come back along, such as PvP stats and PvP currency. So with that, we should probably start off with something probably the simplest. I would say arenas.
Arenas sound good, yeah.
Arenas.
Yeah. Right now, as far as we know, arenas are set for 2v2, 3v3, and 5v5. But unlike traditional MMOs, it's not a once you're dead, you're down. There's actually going to be almost a dodgeball revive system or a total death system. So you'll actually be able to bring back people back into your match. And after a total number of deaths, that's the team that wins, is whoever, you know.
See, that's great because in World of Warcraft and games like that, where that's where arenas were basically formed, other than Quake and stuff like that. To me, that's awesome because I always felt like when I went into an arena match, I was like sweating and I'm like I'm shifted in my chair, I'm freaking out, and I'm like, if I die, it's all over. I've ruined my team for good. But now that gives us this extra edge where it's not just about the single player. It's not like a baseball game where every player is their own entity. It's more like a football game where if your quarterback messes up, then the receiver doesn't catch, that kind of stuff. So it's like it promotes team play is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, it definitely does.
Well, it's more strategy as well too. I mean, because I didn't play that much arenas in WoW, but from what it was pretty much all right. Target the healer first, make sure you get him down, and then go in order from there. So now it's like, well, you kill the healer, he's gonna come back. So you got to figure out who you want to kill in order and whatnot, and how you want to take them down, and just whittle away at their lives basically. So it's a little bit more strategic gameplay in there because everybody has more than one life to come back and try to turn the tide of the battle.
Yeah, I'd say just kill the Dominion first because they're ugly.
Good call. I agree.
What about you, Damien? What do you think of the new PvP stuff and the arenas? Oh, your mic is off. What are you snapping at him? He's snapping at you like you're the butler.
It's working now.
Excuse me, sir. Okay, we're good.
Excuse me.
No, I really like the new stuff that they've got for arenas. I used to really hate them in WoW, for the single reason of like, if you were dead, you fucked up. That's game over. Like it's like that wasn't interesting and it wasn't fun to me. But having this, like, whatever number of lives it is, and I'm assuming it would be different for 2v2, 3v3, and 5v5, scale up accordingly. That's way more interesting because then it's not about, oh, well, you just got unlucky and they just jumped you and now you're out and you just get to sit there and watch your team die. It's a case of there's actually some more skill rewarded, I think.
I think the biggest turnoff for me with any arena game is, and I hope that they're going to address this, and I hope that they don't consider this part of the 1% type of thing that they're going for, is that my least favorite memory of arenas is when gear, like 0.1% better gear, made you 100% better or less killable. So I'm really hoping that the gear equals out over time so that you're not always pushing to get that. I mean, I like to get new gear, but I don't think that you should have to base your team on, oh, well, you didn't run that dungeon or you didn't go out into the world and do that 5-hour, 5-day, 5-year, epic quest line to get this perfect gear.
Yeah, there's always that difficult balance between gear and skill. And I don't think it should be completely skill-based. There should be some form of gear to, at least give you some edge. I mean, you do want to award the people that are better, that do work harder, play longer, and really earn something. You don't want to just throw those guys on the bus and say, "Oh yeah, you don't get anything. All you get is, cosmetic shit or whatever." Like we saw in Guild Wars 2. I mean, I put in probably a good 100+ hours into Guild Wars 2 PvP, and I have nothing to show for it. It's like, oh, I look slightly cooler, but no one can tell the difference because you can get that stuff anyways. So it's one of those things where you really have to give that perfect proportion of gear, skill, and strategy, and that's going to be the whole thing of the meta game. The meta game is going to be totally different with this, like we said with the healer. Hopefully, all perspective, and hopefully.
Bruce is on the hype train. In case you didn't notice,
I am a little bit on the hype train. I do. I do need to tone it back. I have very high expectations, mostly because of when you think of the new system, it's different, but it's not different. It seems to be taking it the next step, and that's what I'm hoping for.
Alanis Morissette, everybody. Alanis Morissette. Anyway, I mean, it's true. There's a lot of things that are old, and there's a lot of things that are new. And hopefully, I think that the idea that you can get back into the battle will help negate a lot of the gear dependencies. Just because it's, you get another shot and you could come up from behind someone, you could surprise someone. So I think that'll help a lot. I hope.
They've also talked about, and this goes across into the other realms of PvP as well, they've talked about implementing an ELO system, which, for those of you who aren't familiar with what an ELO system is, ELO systems were originally created for chess games to match people of roughly equal skill against each other for a good match. So what they're looking at is implementing an ELO system which will allow them to rank people based on their gear score or their item level, as well as sort of wins versus losses. So if you've got a really high item level, but you haven't played any PvP, your ELO is going to be really low because you haven't played any PvP. But once you get some wins under your belt, then your ELO is going to go up higher, and you're going to be placed with people who match your ability and match your item level. So if you're kitted out in the best equipment that you can possibly get in the game, and you happen to be just crazy good at PvP, then you'll be playing against people who are like you. So they keep talking about the 1%. That's something that not only it protects the 1%, so the 1% gets to play against people who challenge them and make the game interesting for them, but it also means that the guys below them don't just get creamed all the time.
Or sit outside Wall Street with their iPods and iPhones. Oh, wait, sorry, wrong 1%.
wrong 1%.
Some of us are in that 1%.
Wow.
You.
You can take over the server costs. It's cool, man. Good stuff.
That's what I'm aiming for.
What were you going to say, Bruce? I know you were raising your hand.
Oh, no. What I was talking about with the ELO system, you're just going to rank up, and you're going to hit the top. You're going to hit the ceiling of the... whoops. Yeah. No, I'm not raising my hand.
It would be cool.
Like
so,
a point here.
I think something that would be cool is, maybe a suggestion would be that, yes, your gear does get implemented and you get cooler stuff and higher stats on it as you get better, and you can get more from PvP. Just like in WoW, the higher bracket you were in, the better gear you could buy. What would be cool is, instead of making it so that once you get to a new bracket and you get that new gear, there's no way that you can, there was a lot of times you get stuck at a certain level because you couldn't get that into the next bracket to get the new gear. It would be cool if, say, some of the new brackets were more, aesthetic, I think, than just gear points. You know what I'm saying, or is that?
Yeah. You're looking for the mix. You don't want you want the hardcores to stay hardcores, but you also want the casuals to mingle with the hardcores, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like that middle ground, instead of having such a big break, you want the lines to kind of match up a little bit better.
Damien had to go into the door, so we're going to be moving on without him. Because we have 30 minutes or less! Or your pizza's free. Free podcast?
Don't promise anybody pizza. What?
I'm sorry. There's no pizza for you. All right, so let's move on here. So, what do we want? Let's talk about Battlegrounds. That seems like the...
right now we've had one officially announced through their beta patch notes of Smash and Grab. Um, right now it's a 10v10 battleground. They have announced that there will be 15 versus 15, and they're looking into possibly 30v30, but they don't want anything long lasting.
I don't either. I want I want open world
Open world
PvP.
PvP, yeah.
But
Less
anyways,
battlegrounds, the better.
well, let's bring it back down.
Yeah,
We'll
sorry.
talk about that in a moment. But the smash and grab, it's a typical capture the flag in one sense, and then in another sense, it's taking it to the next level. You start off with a point in the middle, and you're trying to capture the flag for A or B. If A captures the flag, spawn goes back to the middle. First one, a team of 5. First one of 5 points wins. But the thing is, Team B can actually steal Team A's flag and bring that back to their base as well. So over when it gets to about 3 points and 2 points or something like that, you can actually have 3 flags running at a time. You can have the neutral flag, the A flag, and a B flag all on the map at the same time. So it really adds that extra layer of strategy. You want to make sure that you have people protecting your flag area, not just so your team can cap, but because they can actually steal your flags. And in a 10v10 scenario, that's actually a lot of room to cover for 10 people.
Yeah, it is.
That's a nice twist to neutral flag CTF though.
Yeah,
I really like that everything's going to be persistent because, like you said, it's another level of strategy. You've got to not only defend your flags you have gained, you have to try to go for the other one and get up to 5 points before
Well, and it
finish
splits
the
up the
match.
Zergs too, which is
Yeah,
nice.
Exactly.
and it's not like you're going to be sitting there on a 2.0 game or something like that. The other team has 2 and the other team has 0 and 2 minutes left on the clock. I mean, you can actually tie that up pretty quick by stealing their flag and capping it. I mean, you're not sitting there just stalling out the timer because, there's no way that they can cap, 2 flags in 2 minutes, physically impossible. We're just going to troll them. I mean, there's actually that. It's going to bring it back to, the last 10 seconds may be the most crucial time in the match. And that's going to be hopefully more consistent between all the matches, keeping it high energy, high active, and ongoing.
Well, and that should play well into the class balance too, as well, because different classes should have different roles. I'm assuming in those situations where A class might be better at going and capping that flag than B class. So you're gonna have to look at your team makeup as well, so that'll be good for organized teams. It'll be interesting to see how pugs work as well in those situations.
Yeah.
So, because that sounds like a lot of stuff to be happening because it's funny, we were watching E3 videos yesterday, and they had a video of like some Tom Clancy game, and it's a first person shooter, and they're like, oh, look to your left. He's like, oh shit, and he shoots him. He's like, thank you, and then he's like, oh, watch out for the grenade, and he's like, oh shit, thanks. And I'm like, dude, when I play FPS games, it's more like everybody's fucking rushing around. You're like, what the hell are you doing? Move the fuck over there. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, there's never this, oh, thank you for watching my back. No, fuck that shit.
I always say thank you for watching my back.
And it's even more so because you can actually level in these systems too. There's actually they're going to be bracketed for different level tiers, and you're going to gain experience while doing these. So you can actually level 100% through PvP once you have PvP enabled.
That's awesome.
So yeah, you're gonna see those guys that are jackholes in PvP because that's all they want to do. But you know what? I'm gonna be one of those guys as well. So I just called myself a jackhole. Is a jackhole even a word?
I don't know, but it's about time you admitted it.
It's a new word
A
in the
jackal
dictionary.
is a creature.
I'm sorry. Have I used that word a lot? I feel like I do use that word a lot, and it doesn't mean anything.
I don't. Maybe, yes.
Anyways, so yeah, you can level in PvP. That's always fun.
Cool. So we've got your arena. We've got your battlegrounds. What usually consists in arena battlegrounds is gear. Why don't we talk about gear and dependencies on that stuff? I don't think they've really announced too much about it, so...
They've announced enough where we can already speculate. With the socketing system that they have in gear, you're able to transplant these things for PvP attack and PvP defense. So just like resilience in WoW, that's pretty much what PvP defense is.
Nice.
It's going to diminish the amount of damage that you take from an opponent in PvP. PvP attack negates PvP defense. So you can go pure neutral on a 50-50 and you're pretty balanced. You can go full attack and wail on people, but you're going to die pretty fast. You can go full defense and you can take a lot of damage, but it's not just that. I mean, it also incorporates all the other stats that the rest of the game has to offer. The thing is, right now, since you can socket those stats, you can actually use PvE gear into PvP. Like, you can turn PvE gear into PvP gear with that socket system. So you don't have to waste any of your stuff. You can get a little bit faster into PvP that way, but you may not be 100% PvP efficient, but we still don't know all the specifics. I could be, gibbering shit right now, but hopefully that's how I'm perceiving. That's how I'm perceiving.
It sounded right.
It sounds expensive.
It sounds
too,
right.
though.
That's all I really care about.
Sounds expensive, you say?
Yeah, I mean, because resocketing everything. I mean, at least from the way we sort of understand the way the sockets work, if you're going to switch back and forth and have just PvE gear, I mean, it seems like a good way to have a middle ground and be able to get into PvP and not get totally, I don't know, destroyed. But it seems like if you switch back, then you have to resocket again, obviously. So we don't know how that works.
Yeah, it seems like a good way to use leftover pieces. Like, say you upgrade from one tier to the next in a raid or something, and all of a sudden you have this gear item that is worthless now in your current set. You can convert it into a piece of PvP gear, and then you have a pretty good piece of PvP gear now because it's raid equivalent, but now you have stats that are actually good in PvP. And just a side note, these stats, the PvP attack and PvP defense, do absolutely nothing against world mobs.
Monsters.
So you have no, it's literally worthless for anything other than PvP.
Unless you're like me and you don't actually fight mobs in open world and you're just fighting people.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, he does.
can we just talk about open world PvP, please?
You
Come
always
on.
want to,
Go.
don't you? You've been trying to.
All I want is
You came
talk
for
about
it, man.
All right, go for it.
No, well, because it kind of has to do with battlegrounds too, and since we had just talked about that, the idea of open world PvP to me is like that's what makes an MMO for me. I know a lot of people are like, oh, PvP server, everybody's elitist, and they think that they're shit, blah, blah, blah. To me, open world PvP is that, I don't know, I'm an Ultima Online player at heart, and the idea that you can run around and kill everyone is awesome. It gives you a sense of immersion, I feel, in the world. That's why sometimes I like to roll on RP PvP servers, because you don't get the guy that just, ganks and sits. You get the guy that is, looking to get that monster, finish a quest, and if you get in his way, he's going to kill you, or he's going to warn you that he's going to kill you first. But whatever. I still find it very exciting, and I'm hoping that open world PvP will have the same rewards as, say, Battlegrounds, because I always felt that the introduction of Battlegrounds in WoW was the thing that killed open world PvP. I'm sorry, Tar and Mill and
South
Shore were my favorite moments in World of Warcraft, and it wasn't because everybody was saying at the end when they announced Battlegrounds, they're like, oh, it's so boring, I'm tired of this, I want to do something else. Then they released Battlegrounds, and everybody was like, Battlegrounds are boring, I want to do something else. You know what I mean? And then they realized that open world PvP was still a lot more fun because it was on your terms. You fought when you wanted to fight, which I guess you could argue the same thing for Battlegrounds. But at the same time, you could use the immersive, awesome world that the developers have made to form your own battle standards, your own housing, your own defense, hold up points, where you're going to attack from. I remember spending hours taking down the world dragons with friends. John was there actually, and we were fighting for hours on this thing, and we were coming up with different strategies because of the way that the world was created. And to me, open world PvP, that is what it is for me. It's not about ganking or sitting on someone's corpse or waiting for them to log out. It's about having these epic moments while you're leveling and you're grinding through these quests, and you may not be reading the quest text, so you're not really immersed in it at that point. You have your music playing, you don't know what's going on, and then bam, you're just battling, and now you know this guy's name. So for the next couple of levels, you guys are probably going to be at the same level, and so you're going to see him constantly, and now you have to decide, is it worth it that we continue fighting, Or do we make a silent alliance? Or do we just, duke it out hard? Or do I run shit in my pants because this dude is so good that I just can't level when he's there,
No, that's just when you bring out your main and you overpower him until he logs off.
Send out
and
the
then you
call.
just, then he brings out his main, and then you're both dueling your mains. Then you both bring your guilds, and your guilds are battling it out.
No,
all
but-
because you want to level your level 22 little hunter that you can do some arenas.
I have never had. I don't run alts. I have one main character, so I've never been that guy that's been like, oh well, I'm gonna go get on my main because you're killing my level 2. Fuck that, dude. I'm gonna fight you with my level 2, even if you're level 80. I'm like, gnawing at your legs, So, plus I really enjoy the guild aspect of it. I really enjoy being in guild and being like, dude, I need backup. Please help. And people being like, oh, cool, I'm free. Let's do it. And so then they bring their backup, and then their guild, like you said, and their guild brings their backup. And then you've got this epic battle going on in the middle of nowhere. This wasn't supposed to be a battleground. And you're just going at it. And it's awesome because everybody then gets involved. People see it, and they're like, oh, fucking fight. Let's do this.
Exactly.
It builds your community's name too. It builds your guild's name and what they're all about. When somebody sees, for instance, us, when they see Tab over their head, hopefully they'll think twice. They won't jump in and be like, you know what I mean? They're not gonna gank us because they know that we're gonna break 50 dudes down on them. Anyway, Damien, you've been a little quiet. What do you think about open world PvP?
I'm massively excited about it. I love world PvP. I mean, to go back to WoW, because I think that's sort of a common touching point for everybody. That everybody's got stories about world PvP. Everybody, even people who don't really play world PvP. If you were on a PvP server, even if you weren't, some people just flag for PvP just for the hell of it. But everybody's got stories about, oh man, when I was doing this thing and this guy came at me and we fought. Like everyone's got that. Everyone's got it, and it's awesome. They're really, really cool stories. I mean, I remember the heyday of world PvP for me was Burning Crusade. And most people are like, oh yeah, Burning Crusade, holy shit.
Yeah, it builds your like. I know me and John play PvP. We play paintball in real life, and man, the stories that you get in those skirmishes are freaking awesome, and it's fun to sit around after you don't have anything to do and talk about those stories, and it really brings people together. And I'm really
Sounds like you caught a fish this big, though. That's what you're talking about right now. I caught a fish this big, and then the next time, oh man, it was this big. It's like, yeah, it was this big.
Exactly.
I want to keep talking about this. Obviously, we could probably go on about this for about 5 years, but I want to touch on war plots before we run out of time. So why don't we talk about war plots? Why don't you kick us off, Damien, on that?
War plots. So war plots are kind of awesome. So what you do is you create a war party. A war party is essentially has the same structure as a guild. So it'll have a war party master, and you can have war party officers, and you can have all that sort of stuff. And it has similar functionality to a guild, but it's not a guild. So you can be in a war party and you can be in a guild. And,
sorry, just reminds. Sorry, we got a lot of flack from John saying it's guild versus guild, and we're kind of poking jabs at him right now. It's not a guild, John. It's not a guild.
Got excited.
That doesn't mean that a guild couldn't make a war party, and I'm sure there would be some way for a guild to convert their guild into a guild and a war party. Like if they didn't do that, that would just be crazy. Because I'm sure there are guilds that want to do that, and I would say that we would do that because. And so with the war plots, you're essentially constructing a base, and you get to sort of challenge other war parties to fight. And it's 40v40, and I think there's a smaller version as well, 20v20.
There's talk about it. It hasn't been confirmed for 20v20, but there is speculation and talks about it.
but they are big. They are big fights. I mean, there's something in that for everybody for PvP. I mean, like there's tower defense stuff. I mean, like being able to build defenses and set up strategic choke points, and like they come into this area and an effect slows them, and then something just drops giant AOE's on them and burns them to death, and like you'll be able to build those kinds of strategies. So it really appeals to the strategist and the builder and the people who like that kind of content. There's the ability to be able to then go and fight the other guys, the people who like to assault, that sort of stuff. It's got stuff for the PvE guys because you can capture raid bosses and use them as a resource in your base. So one of the things I heard one of the devs mention was that essentially you could use a raid boss to power your base. So your base will have limited slots, limited resources, your power, whatever the resource ends up being, and you can capture a raid boss and use them to generate more power for your base.
More
and
power.
And just have this like raid boss just chained to a rock in the middle of your base.
Awesome.
So they come rolling in, and this raid boss just rolls around the corner and goes, "Brah, stop you." You know, like.
It was a Yeti.
Well, what I really hope is that I hope that there's a balance between the, I keep bringing it up, but the 99% and the 1%. I hope that there's a balance so that the 99% can also participate in these war plots without having to necessarily have that raid boss. While it is a very cool feature and it sounds really awesome, not everyone is going to be able to kill that boss to get it and put it in their base. So I'm hoping that they allow war plots to do that. I want to toss it to John for a second because I know you were talking about squads and organization. I know he has a lot to talk about that. So we have about 4 minutes, so I just want to give you a heads up. But go ahead and kick it off for what you're looking forward with the war plots.
War plots. I mean, I'm hoping to have an easy system for you to organize yourselves in there, like within your war party, when you actually get into the war plot itself. In terms of like making squads and having squad leaders, and I mean, because the strategy is going to call for that. Basically, you're building a base, you're having everybody contribute and whatnot. And you're building defenses and figuring out where to put traps, as Damien said, and then you got to go out there. So you need people guarding stuff. You need people out there infiltrating their base, whatever, flank maneuvers, all kinds of stuff. It's going to be crazy. But hopefully that they see that coming, Carbine, and they have the tools for you to be able to do that and make it easier as a commander, I guess, and as squad leaders to move your troops where you need to go and direct them and whatnot, all while having a great time, obviously, and blowing the crap out of each other.
Yeah, I think Battlefield 4 even hit on that. They added a commander mode for Battlefield 4 multiplayer, and I think maybe a commander mode might be really awesome because what the last thing we want to see in war plots is Zerg versus Zerg. That's not fun. Nobody enjoys that. We've seen it fail in so many games. We don't even have to name them. You all know. Anybody that's watching this that likes that kind of stuff or castle sieges, they know where it fails with Zergs. So hopefully not everybody is just like door rush. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So hopefully you can send out people and you can do things, and the commander can give you, maybe map commands so you can see stuff, waypoints, and
that stuff would be awesome.
And you know where to go. So that would be some really cool stuff that we'd like to see in war plots, because there's a lot of potential there to be really, really fun. And with the amount of effort that it seems like you have to put into these war plots to make them happen in the first place, you got a PvE, you've got a PvP, you've got to have the right gear, you've got to have the right sockets, you've got to have the money, you've got to have the people, you've got to have the organization. It's as much time consuming as a big raid would be. And I think that it's going to fall short if there's not a way to make it so that you feel as though you're participating in this bigger scheme game where you are actually turning to your buddy being like, look out for the grenade on the left. Thank you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It all comes around.
You touched on something that I think is really, really good. Essentially, war plots are raids for PvP players.
Well, yeah.
That's what they
think about it.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're aiming for. That's exactly that's the structure they want.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they called it.
Yeah, if they give it the same level of support and the same level of structure as they give to raids and raid construction and that sort of thing, then it's going to be awesome. It has to be awesome.
And even if Carbine doesn't initiate it, we do have add-ons that will hopefully take
yeah.
in anything that maybe Carbine didn't add in.
For
So,
sure.
an afterthought thing. So hopefully,
Yeah.
all you Lua modders out there,
Well, I want
think
to
about it.
send a team of people underneath. I want to like have the little bunnies digging, like the orange should have a dig skill. You know what I mean? They're freaking bunnies. They should be able to dig under the base. And so you've got your miners going under the base and kicking some ass. That would be badass. 30 seconds. Anything you guys want to throw in here?
One last thing. There is a PvP currency. Everything that you do in PvP should be giving you this currency. Open world battlegrounds. Not sure if arena will be the same or War Plus will be the same, but there will be a currency.
No, and hey, you know what? Like I said with open world PvP, I think I might have mentioned it in the last podcast. It's like a college campus, man. You don't lay the roads until you get the people on the field. Then they destroy the grass, and that's when you lay the roads. So hopefully, once they see open world PvP kicking off, they will go and they will throw some fucking roads down and some objectives. Anyway, 30 minutes, bam, up. I just want to say thank you for watching. This has been AltTabMe.com, the community that outlasts the release dates. This Wildstar podcast was about PvP, the general idea. Hopefully, we will see you next time.